See, on one side, the way I see that is, like the United States started about 30, 35 years before trying to bring EMR up. Today, after 30 long years, the adoption seems to be little over about 20% in the United States. The next country which comes to my mind is about Canada. They've been trying this for the last 20 years or so, and there is more than about 6 to 7% of adoption. There are several definitions what is an EMR and why do really need to be done this way. There are several standards evolved over a period. And all of us know in the United States in the year 2004, 2005, it became a regulation to have an EMR system. Even then, the adoption seems to be this. Very interesting part, when you look at the history of EMR implementation, 9 out of 10 EMR implementation does not meet the objective originally they set for. And also, what we notice that the major consideration of medical fraternity and physician part of the system, the one of the criteria which the industry set forward for an EMR to do as like a overall metric, that making an order entry by the physician is kind of one particular condition they say to set up a standard for an EMR. The very interesting position we are in today, the way the world has evolved in last 4 or 5 years. The healthcare what we saw about 5 years before is not the same healthcare we are touching today from the technology perspective. So I want to take about 5 minutes to set the stage. How last 20 years, 25 years, we considered the technology coming and making an EMR happen, and what next 2-3 years is going to set forward. I'll just explain from my perspective what I feel, that what's really happening on this scenario. Can I get the presentation? Now that we have Arvind with us and Ms. Shen with us to really take us through the real challenges on the ground reality and how they have faced it and how they have overcome. As part of the session, I would like to set the stage. I'm trying to bring in a new word with an EMR. I feel there's a necessity today, an interoperable EMR. On one side, we are talking about an EMR. On the other side, probably that yesterday you would have noticed that several speakers and several sessions happen on digital, and everybody is talking about digital. What this digital is going to do for us? See, if you really look at it, there are several aspects of digital technology. At one shot, it's trying to come and impact, creating an impact, or more importantly, I want to say a disruption into healthcare technology. As all of us know, healthcare as one industry, we have embraced technology phenomenally well in terms of treatment and in terms of surgery and diagnosis. But in terms of operation, in terms of patient care, healthcare is one industry is always lagging behind when you compare the retail or financial services or manufacturing industries. Now, sudden insurgence and disruption of the various digital technologies, which is starting from creating an impact on the genomics, and also the other side, we are talking about the cloud, mobility, Internet of Things. All these disruption at one shot is trying to come and enter into healthcare. On the overall, the other side, what is the evolution we have seen using technology over a period of last 5-6 years from the overall point of care perspective? Hospitals are changing. They are trying to see how they can improvise their point of care more closer to the patients. Or hospitals are trying to get to the patient rather than patient coming into the hospital. The other side of it, there is a tremendous amount of changes which is happening in the primary care. It is not previously just schedule an appointment and go and see a doctor in the primary care. those days are slowly changing. And which very clearly brings us one kind of a thought process, which is a lot of great technologies would have spoken to you yesterday, that they're kind of an omni-channel, several channel of connecting with the patient is in the emergence. Now, if this is the stage, what is going to happen to the care pathway which we have traditionally last 40, 50 years, the medical sciences have advocated? What is going to happen? The specialty care is the model which we have evolved over a period. And is there going to be a change? Is these technologies are going to force the healthcare industry to change some of the fundamental method of working on the care pathway? Or also is going to be a change in the specialty behavior? How doctors are going to interact with the patient is going to change? Also, is this going to create a meaningful impact? At the end of the day, all of us work to create a phenomenal care, a patient-centric care. That is the single most goal all of us work on it. What kind of a meaningful impact we can bring in using these devices in terms of healthcare delivery, or more importantly, on the treatment and the clinical setting? So, to sum it up, from the technology industry perspective, there is a digital tsunami is gearing up to hit healthcare. As healthcare as an industry, are we ready to deal with it? By the day, there are about 720 companies have been funded in Silicon Valley in last 1 year doing healthcare innovations. Leave alone Sweden and the rest of the world. And there's a tremendous amount of investment Australian government is making in terms of making digital innovation for healthcare. And our Prime Minister is talking about Digital India, and there's a major focus on how do we bring in digital technology effectively to the common man in India. Now, all these things are a major paradigm shift which is gearing up happening. Nevertheless, 80% of our citizens have a situation of a challenge in terms of the access of healthcare. Availability of healthcare and access of healthcare still being a challenge in this country. On one side, we see mushroom of companies innovating and bringing a digital tsunami into this healthcare industry. On the other side, several other different group of healthcare groups are trying to innovate themselves to better their services. And there's a huge gap between the real need and demand of healthcare to the overall technology, what it can do. So let us assume 5 years from now, all these things are going to happen. If this is going to happen, the most important part has to happen. Implementing an electronic medical record, which is interoperable. Probably last 20 years, it could be a myth, or all of us would have been talking that EMR, and some of it happens, somewhere it is becoming a nice story here and there. But I personally feel that it is most critical one thing which has to happen in healthcare today, not better than ever before. And to summarize it, as a group, let's buckle up. I would request Arvind and Ms. Sin to guide us through how do we go further.